Good evening, subscribers. It's episode 5 of Confessions of a Complex Human. It's Wednesday here in Sydney, March 15, 2017, around 11:30 p.m. Before I start, I just would like to acknowledge Claude Shannon. It's because of him that we have all this information technology we have around us. It's because of his work that we can talk about 1 gigabyte of data without knowing what information is contained in those data. Thank you, Claude. So I just came from the live audience of SBS's program called Insight. SBS is one of the Special Broadcasting Service. SBS is one of the government-funded TV stations here in Australia. So I went there for a recording of a future episode of a show called Insight, and it's basically where the anchor just talks to people about a certain topic. And tonight's topic was about family business. And I brought my friend Amy, and she brought her sister Libby, and they both work in the family business, oddly enough. So it was fun, and what I'd like to talk about that is that, do you know, like when broadband first came out and people were selling video conferencing and those things, they were saying we will all telecommute, no one would commute anymore, we will just talk through computers and that. So clearly I'm using that technology that they predicted back then. I'm talking to you via YouTube, although they didn't predict it exactly as what happened. No one predicted that. I think not many people, or maybe no one really predicted that a lot of the things we will see on the internet or in this medium will be user generated, because there was a time that most content, media content, was generated by professionals, media people. So the thing I would like to point out there is that there's sometimes this tendency to oversimplify things and just say, oh, AI is coming, it's the end of humans. And interestingly, even the smartest people kind of buy into this idea, but it's never that simple, because for example, like there's this book written by Kevin Kelly, the former editor of Wired. It's called What Technology Wants, and in one of the chapters there he talks about, like, he got this old Sears catalog way back, and he looked at the products there and said, surely none of these things are being made right now. But he was surprised that he was able to find each and every item in that catalog. They're still being made new. These are not antiques, they're still being made new somewhere in the world. So what I'm saying is, when people say this new thing would come and the old would die, it's not exactly like that. Like, even if we have Uber, Lyft, and all this ride sharing, there are still taxis. It's not that they've died, it's just they have a lesser place. It's become a more different landscape, in the same manner that we have a long tail of media creators like me that are not part of a big network. We still have blockbusters, we still have big TV. You know, when I was in LA, I met up with a former classmate of mine, and we watched a recording of the show The Voice, and I saw how industrial production works. It's amazing how many people are involved in changing the sets. Everyone has a role in doing stuff. It's so smooth, it's like a machine. Like Hollywood is like a machine. That will still exist. But in the old days, that was it, you know? Like when movies were first invented, and then the star system evolved out of that. That's all we have. We don't have cheap cameras like this, and we don't have broadband that I can upload this and anyone can watch it. And in fact, if I want to publish something, I have to go through the gatekeepers. I have to go through an agent, or if I was writing something, the editor has to first. It has to go through the editor sometimes. There's a lot of layers between the editor and what he or she gets to look at and approve to be published. So they're still there. Printed books are making a comeback, even though some people said with ebooks and Kindle and all that, Google Books and iBooks, we don't need physical books. Well, they're still there. Vinyl is making a comeback. So what I'm saying is, be wary of people who are absolutes when it comes to these things. And with AI, again, I agree with people like Kevin Kelly who say that really, why do we need to create an intelligence that's like a human intelligence when we have already a human intelligence, right? That's optimized and worked on by evolution for hundreds and thousands of years to come to this stage. It's already good, and why do we need to copy it? Instead, which is really what's happening now, we're creating other forms of intelligence. Like Kevin Kelly said, really, like a calculator is smarter than us when it comes to calculating numbers already. But it's not gonna replace humans. It has its own kind of intelligence. And in the same manner, like machine learning has its own niche, or it's optimized, or maybe not, the word optimized is a bit too much, but maybe it's good for certain things. Like humans, we're very good at pattern recognition really fast. Maybe machine learning will catch up, but we will still have a unique form of intelligence. And why limit? Why should we aim for this narrow band of intelligence where we can have multiple intelligences? And I really agree, and I'm very much in line with people who say that it's humans, people who can work with artificial intelligence that will prosper in the future. So if you wanna ensure that your kids or you yourself will still thrive given the increased phase of automation, then focus on things that are uniquely human. And it's not a threat, really. It shouldn't be a threat to us. Actually, it's a good opportunity for us humans to really define who we are, right? So let's say with the invention of the calculator, we found out humans are not adding machines, right? Who wants to be an adding machine? And then a computer is good in storing data and memory and quick search. But do you want to define yourself as a being that's good in remembering things? Not, right? So the more we create this other intelligences, the more we could. It's like via negativa. It's process of elimination, taking things out. So if I'm not this, so I'm not that, I'm not that, I'm not that, whatever's left. So it's a good opportunity. So we shouldn't be afraid of it, really. But of course, I acknowledge that there will be disruption, and disruption can be dangerous sometimes, and especially when fear is running the population. Arguably, World War I and World War II were brought about by the changes, really. I mean, there are many. Again, I don't want to simplify that. It's only because of this. There are many factors at play, and no one really knows what the main thing is. As we said, in complexity, there's a lot of pieces, and it can't pinpoint one piece as the cause of the whole emergence. It's like every little thing there is part of the whole thing. So I'll just point out to one thing that I think, or in my view, is one of the drivers of what led to the World War I and World War II. It's how when we were moving from agriculture to agriculture to industrialization, from a primarily agriculture-based society to to a primarily industrialized society. So there were a lot of upheaval. So all this, communism, after World War II, communism rose. But yeah, war become mechanized because of all the machines we've invented. And also, it's an interesting point as well that the Allied forces in World War II really won the war because they were able to, like, especially with the US, they were able to out-manufacture the Axis forces. They were able to create lots and lots of tanks, guns, and stuff, which in turn fed into the US becoming a dominant industrial nation after World War II. Because during the war, they were able to make lots of stuff. And then when the war was over, we have all this capacity. What do we do? And then the US really ramped up advertising. So I listened to this podcast which outlined that after the war, they discovered the main problem was how to make lots of stuff cheaply. And at that era, it's the engineers or it's the factory engineers who were on top because they were the ones trying to solve that problem, how to make lots of stuff for people at low prices. And then after the war, after the industrialization went on full swing, they already solved that problem. And the next problem became, we have all this stuff. So if you're listening to this series I've mentioned before, or in the other series, Complex Humans, I mentioned abundance creates its own scarcity. So there's abundance of stuff, things, objects, manufactured things after World War II and in the 50s. So the question became, how do we sell all these things to people? And so stuff become abundant. What became scarce was the desire to own these things. And that's when Mad Men came from Madison Avenue. That's when advertising really became a huge. Advertising and marketing became, and branding and all that became big, or started to become big, and it's still going on, but it started back then. So they they somehow created a way to harness the desire of people, or to have people desire these brands, desire these objects, and somehow tie their worth or their happiness to stuff. So that went on for a while, and I think arguably we're now on the declining cycle of this, especially after the global financial crisis in 2008. A lot of people are rethinking, is this all there is? And arguably what they're saying now is we're entering a creator economy. Because really, whether we like it or not, we're creators in this. I'm creating this content and you're watching it. You're creating content whenever you search using Google. Because really what Google does is it's learning from all the searches being done all over the world. It's continually learning. And who's producing these searches? We are. And we're not really, it's free for us because we're not paying for it. The advertisers are. So in a way we're kind of Google's raw material to earn money, but it kind of benefits us. It's complex. It's no longer as simple, It's like no one would have predicted way back that the most dominant media company really in our time would be a search engine. But essentially it is. And now there's social. So a lot of things are happening in social, especially with Facebook, and Google has Google Plus, but it's not the same. So there's still movement there, and you have Twitter, Instagram, and all this. So there, that's the net. It's more of the network. It's so user-generated content is the content economy. Then you have the network economy. It's how we link to each other. We create content for each other, and it's our. If you really think about it, Facebook is using our connections as individuals in order to bring advertising. So the raw material we provide to Facebook is how we relate to each other as people, as real people. So there's that, and now set that aside for a while, and then we add on another layer where I mentioned in the acknowledgement in the start of this episode about Claude Shannon, and he really paved the way for this information revolution. So we have lots of information now, this amazing huge quantities of data being generated every single second, I think. Every time we take a photo, I Instagram a lot, so every time I take a photo, every time I do this, every time I record this episode of Confessions of a Complex Human, more and more and more of this content, so they call it content now because it's more generic, you know. So when content is abundant, what becomes scarce is attention, right? So that people talk about attention economy, in its more in its more oversimplified or gross description of it. It's eyeballs, you know. They call it, you know, those during the .com era. Who cares about profit, man? It's all about eyeballs. But that's a very crude way of putting it. But it's pointing to the fact that it's attention. So there's that. So what I'm saying is, when new things come, it doesn't mean that the old go away. It just adds on to it. And because of that, it becomes more complex. You know, Nassim Taleb, my favorite author, you will hear me mention him all the time because I really enjoy his work, mentioned that we are still using, for cooking, we're still using basically technology from the Stone Age. All those predictions, I remember Buck Rogers or something, where they predicted that people in the future will just have a capsule and you just eat the capsule and that's it. That's their nutrition. Never happened. We're still, in fact, we're going backwards. You know, the really expensive food now are the artisanal food, which are done really the old way. What's the premium food? This organic food, which is the farmed in the old style. So there's that. We go so far, but we also go back. It's an interesting ecosystem of we now can, like when I do my complex humans, I can talk to someone instantaneously via Hangouts on the opposite side of the world. Yet, like he or she would be cooking using Stone Age technology. We are still drinking wine, which is there even during the time of the Bible, when Lot got drunk and had sex with his daughters. Believe me, the Bible is quite it's like the Game of Thrones if you really read it as a piece of literature and not just pick and choose what's being what's being discussed in the sermons in the church. It's quite good entertainment in the Bible as well. So this polarity is not helpful. It's better to see the complexity. It's a spectrum. It's never black and white. There can be black and white at the extreme end, but those are not the only things that exist. There's still this wide spectrum in between. So that's my tip for you. Anytime someone says, "Oh, this is it, there's no more other things," just be careful. Alarm bell should ring in your head. It's always more nuanced than than first meets the eye. So on that note, I'm gonna end this episode, and thank you if you're continually watching. And if you found this video by accident, please subscribe via YouTube, comment, share this in your social media, and I'll see you in the next episode. Good night.